Hi everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Anthony Fantano here. It's time for an episode of Let's Argue, specific to our Patreon page. Thank you for joining. Let's Argue, where I take your hot takes, your unpopular opinions, your tough questions. I respond to the best ones. You know what it is. Let's go. Lyrical miracle rap is a necessary evil because it challenges the lyrical content of hip-hop to be more meaningful. Are you saying that lyrical miracle rap is like pushing boundaries and it needs to be there because if it wasn't, the lyrical standards of rap would just go out the window or something? Because honestly, when I hear a lot of lyrical miracle rap, and I'm talking about like, your artillery, you're shutting down the auxiliary, blah, blah, blah. Like often it just sounds like really crappy word association that doesn't really mean or say anything. Like obviously the rhyme patterns are more complex and the words that are being worked into a lot of the verses are bigger, and you might need a dictionary to look some of them up. But often when you look deeper into the bars, like not a whole lot is being said. My electable, electrical, petrical, on a spectrical, metrical, and a gadagatrical. But like, once you analyze that, it doesn't fucking mean anything. If you listen to a cover of a song for the first time before the original, you're going to like the cover more. Well, I guess that explains why people listen to Disturbed's version of Sound of Silence. I literally can't think of any other reason anyone would listen to it voluntarily. But it is true that in a sense, a cover version of a song, if it is our first point of exposure, it can certainly inform how we feel about the original, whether we go on to enjoy that original more or not. Music journalists, critics, and sometimes fans put too much emphasis on the artist who pioneered a sound and not enough on those who improved the sound afterwards. Sometimes it's not about who did it first, but who did it better. This is absolutely true. Yes, it's true. It's true. Thank you for saying this. No, it's true. There are lots of bands and artists who were there first. They did something early, an early adopter, but then down the road, maybe somebody who's not as innovative just comes through with better songwriting, better production, maybe even better marketing. However it is, they do what they do. They end up surpassing those who were kind of on the scene first or doing something early. And, you know, it is what it is. It just goes to show that while doing something first is cool, it's not everything. Australian music will always be seen on some level as a gimmick by anyone from overseas, even if the music is genuinely good. Music critics can never even mention an Australian artist without mentioning where they're from. You can see this in your own year-end list. TK, King Gizzard, Kieran J. Callanan, Tropical Fuckstorm, etc. What are you talking about? Like, I mention that those people are where they are from because I think it's cool that they're from that place. It's a breath of fresh air, frankly, to not just have to review one American artist or UK artist after another. I don't mention that they're from Australia just because I'm like, they're from Australia. Ooh, isn't that hilarious? Oh my God. Also, in my reviews, I will typically mention whether or not someone is from the UK or from some other place outside of the US. And frankly, I mean, there are some artists that, Tame Impala is probably the most prime example, that are from Australia, and their profile has grown so large. When I talk to people over here about stuff like Tame Impala, they have no fucking clue where they're from. They think that they're from California. They don't even know about like Kevin Parker. I'm talking about casual listeners here who might have like caught it in a streaming playlist or on like Sirius radio or something. Look, honestly, be happy there are artists from where you're from and are killing it, frankly, because that's what they're doing in my opinion. I don't see being from Australia as a gimmick. I think Australia is a very cool and lovely place. We're going to put a link somewhere around this page where you guys can donate to the relief efforts for the brush fires because they are horrible. I love the man, but Danny Brown sounds like if a Minecraft villager started rapping. I don't hear it. I know they have that kind of sort of tone to their voice, but To me, they sound more like Squidward. Honestly, they sound a little more like Squidward, or like Gonzo from Muppets. They have that more of that tone. I don't so much hear a Danny Brown. GTA 5 has the best soundtrack of any video game since it has both unique artists that you don't hear on regular radio stations, and the radio caters to a large amount of musical tastes. Personally, I prefer the Grand Theft Auto Vice City soundtrack. And not necessarily because it's more or less original, or that it's like all 80s shit or anything like that, but you know, that video game is like it's a period piece in a way. It's reflective of a time, of an era, of an aesthetic, and I feel like the music choices for the game were really good in terms of creating an immersive experience in a particular setting. While I do like the soundtracks of the more modern GTAs, considering that like they're set in modern day pretty much, you don't really get that same effect because you're just kind of hearing music that reflects the time period you are in present day, which you can get just about anywhere. The novelty is kind of not so much there, even if there is some original music in the works. Songs like Don't Call Me White by NoFX and Guilty of Being White by Minor Threat are understandable and correct in their original incarnation. They did not age well. All you have to do is go on the comment sections of a song like that, and you will find a slew of closeted racists camouflaged as hardcore fans claiming the songs are more true now than ever. Speaking of Guilty of Being White, because I was a huge Minor Threat fan back in the day, and still pretty much am today, that is a track that's difficult to make sense of, even when thinking about what must have been in Ian's head when he originally wrote it and came up with it. Keep in mind, this is one of many, many songs in the band's discography that are essentially about arguments, people he didn't like, misunderstandings, socially tense moments and occurrences that he was venting about. But I guess even for the 1980s, taking something like racial tensions in America and boiling it down to, you blame me for slavery, when honestly, like, that's not the only thing people are mad about. That's not the only thing people are unhappy about. Given it was the 1980s, many communities of color were most likely concerned with the crack epidemic and Ronald Reagan, not Ian MacKaye having anything to do with slavery. While I do appreciate the rage of the track, just like any other song in the Minor Threat discography, it does feel like a bit of a straw man, like you're purposely trying to talk past this person who is unhappy with you in the state of things current day. Harsh noise music actually becomes some odd form of relaxation after a while. This is true. Noise music takes a while to get acclimated to. Don't listen to it too loud. Don't ruin your hearing for it. But it does take a little while to get acclimated to, because your brain for a little bit is going to be struggling and freaking out, looking for some kind of like recognizable pattern, just like it does in any other piece of music. But eventually it just sort of beats your brain into a numb, almost like euphoric sense of stillness that you just end up immersed in the music. And it's kind of nuts how it works that way, but it does actually work. Listening to harsh noise music that way, you do actually feel that way after a while. It's kind of like getting into a very, very, very hot, like piping hot, burning hot bathtub, and then you just kind of get used to the temperature after a while. Olives are gross. Some Greek olives and green olives I generally find to be a little too salty, but black olives are fucking awesome. This is disgusting that you would say this. As ridiculous as Viper's music can be at times, his influence is greatly underappreciated. He literally invented cloud rap with his 2006 mixtape Ready and Willing, predating Little B and Clams Casino. It's a shame that almost no one gives him credit for that. Yeah, but here's the thing, like, is there any kind of direct influential lineage from that album to like what Little B and Clams Casino were doing on Six Kiss? Is there an interview or anything or anyone citing some kind of fact or admission that, oh yeah, like I took that from the Viper mixtape, you know? And on top of it, just like we were saying earlier, sometimes being the first to something is not always the most important. Sometimes being the innovator, being the number one innovator, Lil B the bass god, is more important. Charlie XCX's album Charlie is not a very innovative album. While I am well aware that Charlie's album is not like the first record to portray or display many of the sounds on it, like she's literally working with people from the PC Music camp on sounds that they helped develop. So it's not like she's just doing some kind of terrible ripoff of something that's already happened a million times before. She's literally taking some of the most experimental and adventurous sounds in pop music and applying it to a true blue pop record with bold hooks, quality vocals, memorable songs, creative feature lists. Stop underrating Charlie. The disrespect. Wearing glasses when you don't need them is cultural appropriation. Our poor vision is not a fashion statement. God, fuck. I agree with this so hard, and what's worse about it is that look. Your boy looks good in some glasses, okay? I look sexy and smart and nerd chic in my glasses. And because of this trend that you're talking about here, I, every once in a while, and my wife as well, maybe if we're out eating dinner or something, and we're having a conversation with someone who's waiting at table, or if we're out in public and, you know, just casually talking with somebody who's not a fan of the show or anything like that, but we've been questioned before because we put some effort into, you know, finding some glasses that look good because we're both fucking blind as bats. So if we have to wear glasses, we might as well look good doing it. And you know, people have been like, "Hey, are those real glasses? Are those real? Are those real glasses? Are the glasses that you're wearing, are those really prescription glasses? Are those really glasses?" Yes, they're fucking glasses. They're real fucking glasses. If my eyes were great, if I could just flip a fucking switch and my eyes would just like work, like I would never wear glasses again. I would never wear glasses, not one more fucking time. Because honestly, like as nice as my glasses are, at least I think they're nice. I think they're great. I love them. Glasses are also such an inconvenience. You know, sometimes like you're looking for them, you're trying to find them, or you break them and you're fucking upset about that. Like, ugh, who wants to deal with that? And don't even get me started on all the headaches that come along with freaking contact lenses. But with glasses, don't fake the funk. It's disgusting. More of a tough question, really. I've seen you criticize the slowed and reverbed remixes of certain songs, but what are your opinions on DJ Screw and his chopped and screwed remixes of songs? What makes them different in your opinion? I mean, from my understanding, with past chopped and screwed remix albums that I've listened to, chopped and screwed music is typically just a wee bit more edit intensive, where a lot of the slowed and reverbed songs that I've been exposed to on social media are literally just a slowed and reverbed version of the song, and like pretty much that's it. I mean, for sure there's like really shitty chopped and screwed music out there, and I've heard some of that too on Dat Piff, but some of the best chopped and screwed shit that I've heard, again, is pretty edit intensive and seems like, I don't know, a bit more artistically viable, I guess. I mean, I sort of get what you're talking about, like comes from a somewhat similar place, but I find just, I don't know, slowing and reverbing a track to be as interesting as, you know, like 8D audio. You know, watching a festival performance on YouTube is actually better than being at the festival. Depends on the fest, depends on the performance, and depends on the production going into creating that live stream that you're seeing on YouTube, like where the camera's at, is the audio good, this, that, and the other. If all of that is great, super A-okay, then you're going to have a better view and maybe even a better time seeing that performance from the seat of your home on YouTube than you would be if you're there, because fuck, it's not like a performance with like 20,000 people in front of the stage is all that fucking intimate, you know what I mean? If I'm going to a show and I'm gonna be there physically, there better be some unique ass shit going on there, or I better be like really close to the stage, because like I want to be seeing that shit like right there. I want it in my face. And for the instances in which that can't happen, also like, you know, a big festival, and I don't really like going to many big festivals, just streaming them on YouTube I guess can be cool. Igor Krutoglov's version of A Little God in My Hands is better than the original. Are you talking about that like toy version? It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. But the little plastic horns and everything that they do when you get that instrumental burst, It's not as good. Meatloaf is an underappreciated artist. I think the records that Meatloaf has put out that are good are certainly underappreciated in the grander scheme of rock. But part of the reason that is that he doesn't have that many good records, you know? Like, dude has been putting it in the industry and has been doing so for decade after decade after decade. And dude's discography is weak and nosedives fast. Like, immediately after the first couple of records. Bad Out of Hell, the sequel, is decent, but, like, come on, man. Meatloaf is really like a flash in the pan, you know? A flash in a pan of Meatloaf. Bad Out of Hell, though, is a must listen for anybody who's a rock fan, though, so, you know, don't listen to it. And I think that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Argue. Patreon only. Thank you very much for watching. You're the best. I love you. Anthony Fantano, Let's Argue forever.